Good afternoon. Today I'm going to talk about some of the enhancements coming in CIS 2.8. One of the enhancements is to be able to specify what persistence you want to use. Persistence is like a stickiness. In Kubernetes instances, we do see some users requiring no persistence, and that is one of the enhancements that's coming in 2.8. Let me talk a little bit about how this works. And then I will kind of go into some of the other cool features coming in 2.8. So today, persistence by default for AS3 for a virtual server is cookie, and for a transport server, it's source address. But what happens if you don't want to use cookie or source address? What happens if you would like to use a persistence of none? So what we've done is we've added a new object in our CRD called persistence profile none, or persistence profile value, and that value is a string. That could be any persistence that BigIP is offering that's exposed by AS3. AS3 is basically the common API here. So for virtual server, you can see there's my name, there is my persistence profile of none, and of course my persistence profile of none for transport server. So that's kind of how that works. So you can specify persistence of any value here, and the same. Of course, you cannot specify a cookie value for a transport because it's TCP only. So it does apply, and AS3 will do the validation to make sure that you apply the correct object. Another way of doing it is to use a policy. So for example, here, I'm specifying my policy name, my policy CRD, and I'm specifying my persistence in my policy. So that's actually kind of cool as well. That's kind of like a different way of doing it if you want, and you can do the same thing for transport server. So as you can see, here is my transport server, in this case I'm using TCP, and here I have a persistence profile of none specifically for TCP. One important thing to note is that the policy CRD will take precedence over what's specified in the virtual server. Right, so that's very important to know. Let's take a look at the first example. Let's specify a virtual server with a persistence profile of none. So what we're going to do, we've got 3 here in our repo. We're going to go ahead and enable VS persistence. And so what that looks like VS persistence right here. You can see there's a persistence of none. If I go on to BigIP, you can see here in this tenant, there is no virtual service configured. So we'll go ahead and create this. We'll do a kubectl create -s vs persistence.yaml. And so there I created it. There's no errors. I love to watch the API to see if there's errors. And I can refresh. You can see it right here. And if I go to resources, you can see that there's the resources with the persistence profile of none. You can see you could have configured all of these objects, but in this case, that's what I wanted to use. I can then go ahead and remove that and then create one using a policy. So let's delete that. So as you can see now, what I want to do next is I want to use a policy CRD to create the persistence. So as you can see, there's nothing in the tenant there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create the policy persistence first. As you can see there, here's also some custom profiles, but there is my policy persistence right there. And then what I'm doing is I'm going to tie that to the virtual server, which is going to be tied right there. So we'll go ahead and create that. I've already created the policy. So kubectl, I'll just create that policy again. Why not? It'll tell me if it's created, and that is policy persistence. It is already there. So kubectl create, and then create the parent, which is persistence. Oops, it's in a dash policy, and there that goes. There's no errors. And on BigIP, we should now see there is the virtual server. And this virtual server, you can see here, there's the custom TCP profile, there's the custom HTTP profile. These are all part of the policy CRD. And if I go into resources, there is the default persistence profile. So that's actually pretty cool, pretty short, something that's coming in CIS 2.8. What's also coming in CIS 2.8 is a complete rework of the OpenShift routes when wanting to use a multiple virtual. So currently CIS will only allow you to use one OpenShift router, one virtual per CIS instance. We're making some changes. Please note that's going to be a preview in 2.8 and it's going to be merged into 2.9. What's also coming in CIS 2.8 is the integration into VMware Tanzu using Node Port Local. You will see some demos in the up and coming days and weeks. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, monitor my blog, and you will see all the cool new stuff that's coming in 2.8. I'm actually going to create a playlist with this content, so keep an eye out for that. If you want to get some early release images that you can use to test with, please let me know. Those images are non-production, of course, just because they're test images. They haven't gone through their full regression. So let me know what else you want me to record as well, and I'll definitely do that. Have a great day. Thank you.